All right, so we've had a couple conversations about reuse of big objects. Now our next conversation is about reuse of smaller objects. Chris Slafter is senior sustainability specialist with San Mateo County's Sustainability Department, where he leads the county-wide effort to provide outreach and technical. Stay with me, folks. Stay right here. Stay with me. I'll get you to lunch, I promise. All right, so disposable foodware ordinance. Prior to his work with the county, he spent 5 years with California Clean Water Action, which many of you have received those grants, on the Rethink Disposable program, where he provided direct one-on-one consultation services to food facility owners who wish to replace single-use foodware items with reusable items. All right, come on up, Chris. Here's your clicker. The blue goes forward, and she's got your timer.
Thank you. There we go. My name is Chris. I'm the Senior Sustainability Specialist with the County of San Mateo, and I'm really excited to be here today to be able to talk to you about what my team and I have been doing the last 3 years running our disposable foodware ordinance and subsequent technical outreach program. I think that what we've done is going to be a real benefit to those of you here today who are either currently running an ordinance and an outreach program or are thinking about running an ordinance and an outreach program. We create some resources, we've learned some lessons that I think will benefit you. So I'm going to do 3 things today. I'm just going to give you kind of a broad, high-level overview of what our goals were for the ordinance and for the outreach program, let you know what actually happened out in the field, and then for you to be able to walk away today with some resources and ideas on how to best implement your own ordinance. So we had 5 main goals that we had for ourselves for this ordinance and the outreach program. First, we wanted to create a set of ordinance requirements that could be adopted by all the cities in our jurisdiction or in the county, so that there were one set of uniform requirements that all food facilities throughout San Mateo County would be adhering to. And then the second one is we would then follow that up with an outreach program, a single outreach program with one set of resources, one consultant, so that all the food facilities affected by an ordinance requirement would receive assistance from the same group. We wanted those resources to be comprehensive so that food facilities can simply go to our website, consult with our consultants, and get everything they need in order to be compliant with our ordinance. We wanted funding to be available to food facilities so that if they needed help purchasing compliant disposable food serviceware or going beyond our ordinance requirements by adopting the use of reusables for on-site, they would have some funding to do that. And then lastly, we wanted to lead with outreach and education rather than penalize businesses with citations for not complying. We rolled this program out right at the height of the pandemic, and we didn't want to be in the business of penalizing businesses with financial fees for not complying. So in order to create our ordinance requirements, we did consult with our haulers, with our cities, because we wanted to create a model ordinance that we thought would basically like sell well with our cities. And so we came up with 2 buckets of requirements. One is material and the other one is distribution. So our material requirements are that we prohibit the use of single-use plastics. This includes rigid PLA, compostable plastics like PLA and PHA. When food facilities are serving prepared food to the public. Instead, if they want to use single use, we do require that they use like natural fiber-based compostable foodware that has been certified by a third party to be compostable at our haulers or by our haulers and to be free of PFAS and other toxic chemicals. And then the second bucket was the distribution. So in line with AB 1276, we do require that the food accessories be by request only. Now, of the 20 jurisdictions, like in our counties, 3 of them, 16 of them adopted our ordinance. 3 of those cities actually went beyond our ordinance requirements. So Pacifica, Daly City, and Half Moon Bay also included a reuse for dine-in requirement. And so we think that the overall rollout countywide was successful. There were some hiccups. We had to amend our ordinance and then coordinate an amendment of the ordinances to align with AB 1200 and 1276. And we feel like it's probably going to happen again because of SB 54. Also, certain reusable items can be problematic, like lids, Asian soup spoons, some other specialty items. We have a difficult time finding a market alternative for. So when it came time to actually implementing our ordinance, we hired Environmental Innovations and Rethink Disposable as our consultants out in the field. Environmental Innovations was chiefly responsible for getting the word out about like the ordinance, making sure everyone was educated about the requirements and knew about what resources were available to help them comply. And then the Rethink Disposable program was there to also offer consultation services for those businesses who wanted to switch to reuse for on-site. We started off with a mailer to all food facilities. So we mailed out a mailer to over 4,100 food facilities. We followed up that mailer with phone calls and emails to find out if they understood the requirements, if they needed technical assistance. So then we had over 2,000 conversations with food facility like owners or decision makers. We asked them if they needed technical assistance. Over 400 said they did. So then we were able to provide like more in-depth technical assistance. I think it's really interesting to note that 144 businesses, 36% of the businesses that received technical assistance also were participants in the Rethink Disposable program. If you are really interested in promoting reuse at restaurants, a great way to do it is on-site, in person, and get to know the owner and like their needs, and that allows you to make really solid recommendations. And then we have a public complaint-driven ordinance. So rather than issue citations, we just simply sent out our consultant, and so we responded to over 80 complaints with technical assistance. Okay, we wanted our resources to be like comprehensive. You can check them out. You can scan that QR code that takes you to our website. You can see the resources for yourself. Our keystone resource is our purchasing guide. It features over 170 compostable products, over 110 reusable products, vendors, manufacturers, and distributors, all who can supply our food facilities with items that are compliant with our ordinance. We also feature county-specific catalogs, so a food facility can see the entire array of items that are compliant with their ordinance that a particular vendor supplies. And really that has just been an outstanding resource. It's been very helpful. So I really encourage you to look at it and perhaps adapt it and use it yourself. We also created ordinance summaries, sector-specific guides for like boba restaurants and supermarkets on how they can best comply with our ordinance. We did run into some trouble though when it came to communicating certain things like what is is PLA compliant or not? What's the idea? What's the situation with like lids? So those are things we hope to address and streamline in the future. We also provided an expo, so to give food facilities a chance to come to us in a central location, be able to talk with our vendors and get on-site technical assistance. Moving forward, we do want to host more of those events like all throughout the county so that food facilities in areas that, like in unincorporated areas or maybe are geographically kind of prohibited from easily getting into central county can visit like the ordinance. Visit us to get help on the ordinance. We wanted to provide funding to help food facilities comply with our ordinance, but funding is really hard to give away. It's really hard to give away money. We did not give away as much as we had allocated for, and I think the key lesson is if you have funding available to give to food facilities to help comply with an ordinance, you want it to be as accessible as possible. Bring stuff to the business. That was our kind of key takeaway. It really worked with the reusable program, and we're going to be piloting like that kind of change in the next iteration of our technical assistance program, where we might just bring compliant foodware items like to the food facility. Because any type of form, as simple as you can possibly make it, is going to be a barrier. And that is something we kind of had a heads up about before we went into this program, but it really was clear afterward. The last thing I want to talk about is compliance. So to achieve compliance, we wanted to lead with outreach and education rather than like citations, but we ran into two problems. So despite all the resources and the consultation services that we offered, we saw mostly mixed compliance. It's rather predictable. So where food facilities can easily make a change, like with utensils, hot cups, clamshells, and other food containers, we saw compliance. Where it was more difficult, or perhaps because there was public pressure not to do so, like with cold beverage cups, or certain kinds of specialty items, we didn't see compliance. So we feel that continuing to provide more outreach and education, really get the word out about our resources, we hope to see more compliance in the future. The second problem was with corporations and franchise food facilities. It's two problems of the same coin. First is, it's difficult for us and our consultant team to reach the decision maker. Oftentimes, like the on-site manager does not have decision-making power or limited decision-making power. And then also, it's difficult for those companies to comply with our jurisdiction requirements because oftentimes they operate across jurisdictional boundaries. In order to make changes in their supply chain to meet our ordinance requirements can be difficult. So a way to address that is we created the Regional Foodware Ordinance Working Group to have a place where our jurisdictions can pool our resources, share our contact information to best get in contact with these businesses, but also to give those businesses a place to meet with multiple jurisdictions at the same time to really facilitate the kinds of conversations that'll lead to compliance. If you're interested in joining, I urge you to contact myself to join the Regional Foodware Workings Group. And then also, if you're interested in pursuing reuse policy and reuse requirements, I do suggest you contact Miriam Gordon with Story of Stuff to get in touch with the West Coast Reuse Forum. And I'm just going to kind of skip over the last slide. What I just want to let you know is that what I really want you to walk away from today is just use our purchasing guide. Don't reinvent the wheel. If you're trying to create resources to food facilities, use what we've already done. Network with other jurisdictions in order to pool your resources and tackle region-wide issues. And if you're going to make funding available, make it as easy as possible to access. Give stuff away in person. Okay, and then I'll take your questions. Thank you.
Cool. Nicely done. Okay, I've got a question right here, and Julia's got a question up there. So we'll take those two. Okay, Julia's running. Oh, here. And right, great.
Hi, thank you for your presentation. My name is Crystal. I'm from Californians Against Waste, and we're pursuing a reusable cups bill in the state legislature. And I just had a quick question regarding the the McDonald's and Starbucks. If they are out of compliance in your ordinance, do you currently fine them, or do you how are you actually getting them to the table in this working group?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's going to be a conversation I'm going to be having with those in my department about what to do in that case. In our ordinance, so in our code, we do provide a way to issue citations for businesses who aren't in compliance. But we're currently developing what that program is going to look like. We don't yet have a on-the-ground enforcement mechanism to provide citations. And I do want to be also mindful that we are equitably enforcing our ordinance. And I know that there's some concern in our office and in our public that if we do start issuing citations, because it's a public complaint-driven ordinance, that it might fall heavily on the side of businesses who are owner-operated businesses, rather than a larger corporation or a food facility. So we do want to be equitable and mindful about how that is rolled out. But there's also a need to bring those kinds of companies into compliance because they're the most visible. So that's a balance we're trying to strike. We're going to be talking about it in the future. So please contact me a couple months from now. We'll probably have a better answer.
Great. And then Julia's got a question back here. Oh, she asked us. She's got ESPN. Is there questions coming in from online? David, no questions from online?
Oh, no.
Wait, Derek.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay. So, I don't know if this thing is on. I got a big voice, though.
You do. You can repeat it if you would.
So, I was just along the lines of enforcement, what's that? I thought you got a big voice.
Just do it. Just do it.
Yeah, I just wanted to know, for food trucks and how do you reach those people and, because I'm kind of along the same lines with her, because without enforcement, you have your ordinance kind of hit in the mark. Not just saying, I don't want to do it. And so it's just worked on a piece of paper. So I was wondering, you already kind of addressed that and how you have to implement it.
How about humiliation?
So, thank you.
Yeah, so there's two questions there I heard. What do we do about food trucks and, without a citation mechanism, our ordinance is dead in the water. So for the food trucks, they're difficult to get a hold of. For many reasons. They're mobile. They often operate out of commissaries that aren't open to the public. And often the owners or perhaps even out of the area, out of the state. So we did a combination of things. We sent out mailers, of course, to all the owner addresses that we have. We sent our consultant out to try to engage the food trucks, like either like where they were parked or like at a commissary or whatever central location that they operate out of. And we had some like limited success with that. We are going to be kind of troubleshooting that in the next iteration of our outreach program. And then with regard to seeing compliance, you know, I think that even with the citation mechanism, you would still see some non-compliance because some things are just more difficult to get a hold of than others, oftentimes for like market reasons. So food facilities would contact us proactively saying, hey, we know that there's this ordinance requirement, we want to comply. We're working with our supplier, like try to get like this type of like, I'm just making something up, but like wooden utensil, for example, but they're out of stock and we simply can't get it. So there are many reasons why you don't see compliance like out in the field. A lot of them happen to be market-driven reasons. We often see a lot of desire in our food facilities, especially the ones on the coast, to comply with the ordinance because they live the immediacy of the single-use plastic pollution problem. And also in denser areas where you see a lot of single-use plastic litter like on the streets. So we really think that it's just like if we can continue to provide like these resources and then like on-site technical assistance like on demand to help food facilities like troubleshoot through the problems associated with bringing a new type of item into their operations, that we'll see greater compliance in the coming years. This is going to take a little bit of time.
Nicely done, Chris.
Okay.
Thank you so much.